Before we get into our Chat Sports Power Rankings entering Week 4 of the NFL season, do you like us doing these weekly Power Rankings? Requires us to get up a little bit earlier, but we're professionals, we're adults. I like doing it. So if you like it too, then like today's video. A new team in dead last, and it certainly makes sense, right? The Tennessee Titans dropped down to number 32. It's only a slight slide down, but the three teams that were below them last week all won, so of course they moved up. Up one spot is Carolina. They did beat the Raiders. I think you can make an argument that maybe the Raiders should be below Carolina. I do think there is some credence to the played a new quarterback, had the one-game theory. It was not unanimous to put the Raiders at 30 and Carolina over 31, or at 31. But I think both teams have some real concerns. They're probably more concerning with the Raiders because you look good against the Ravens in week 2. You're already doing the benching the quarterback speed run, this is the Minshew experience. Like, you're going to have ups and downs. You're already out on it. It's kind of concerning. The Giants at number 29. It's a solid win over the Browns. We'll get to the Browns. I am very surprised because I had them low. I had them in my bottom 4. I was very surprised to see where Carolina was at. It was also lower than everyone else in the Jags. I kind of think Doug Peterson's going to get fired soon. Look, Trevor Lawrence looks a little bit broken, which is a real red flag in what you just paid him and everything else, but I don't like your game planning. Doug Peterson, I swear to God, Press Taylor has just like dirt on him, and that's why he keeps not getting fired. I got real concerns on Jacksonville. I know ownership does too. Ownership came out at the beginning of the year and said, it's the best team we've ever assembled. Spent more money. Time to go win some games. They choked it away last year down the stretch, and they still can't find a win. Really concerning in Jacksonville. Highly concerning. So there are 3 winless football teams. We'll get to the Bengals here in a little bit, as I was also outvoted by the staff on where they should go. So I take no responsibility for the rankings that I am on air for. Somewhat of a joke there. B for the Bengals. They're going to get the first win. J for the Jags. T for the Titans. It is the pinned comment on today's show, so if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Patriots, boy, they sure look good in week 1 and then haven't looked very good since then. They are number 27. Again, it is power ranking, so it's not just a standings ranking. That's why they're below the team that they beat, according to some voters. I had the Bengals very low. We didn't even let Stone vote today. We'll get to the Bengals. Broncos at 26. Bo Nix looked so much better this week. Very, very promising signs there. Not sure what happened to Tampa. We'll get to them later on. But Bo Nix looked a lot better. That's a big deal for Denver and for him. The Bengals, I think there is some semblance of, it's September. They're just bad in September. But the Bengals can't keep doing this. You can't recover from an 0-3 start like this consistently. You can't start the year winless and then fix everything, and now you have to be the best team in football the rest of the way. I don't think they're the best team in football. That defense is bad. You got to have to question Zach Taylor's job security, by the way. Bears at number 24. I'll say this, and we'll spend some more time on it on today's live show, so make sure you guys are subscribed. I think the actual film for Caleb Williams was good. It didn't show up on the field. Well, the results obviously were not there against Indy. I think there's a lot of promising things, but the Bears also have to stop Bearsing, and I do that mean in a derogatory sense. Some pretty big disagreements on like where exactly to rank Miami with just how much uncertainty there is over if/when Tua Tagovailoa is going to be able to return to the team. I think the scheme definitely helps Tua. I also think that Tua helps the scheme. I think both of those things are true. Skylar Thompson is not it. The Dolphins don't have a good quarterback on the roster beyond Tua. So if he can come back this year, which maybe you just don't let him have to have that conversation, that they can still be a fringe top 10, top 15 team. If they don't come back, it's going to be a long season in Miami. Indy at number 22. You got to dial back the Anthony Richardson mistakes. Young QB. At least it's not as bad as the Will Levis experience is right now. But a big win over the Bears at number 22 for Indy. The Browns, I am shocked how high the Browns are on this list. I really am. Because think about the results you've had. You beat the Jags, who were bad. You got beat up by the Cowboys, who also might not be good at all, and are also on the verge of falling apart. And you beat and you lost to the Giants. I had them lower than anybody else. That the passing offense is bad. Deshaun Watson looks like a mess again. I am sounding the alarms about the Cleveland Browns at this point. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. The thing I love most about it, it's just you against the numbers. You're not battling other people. You're not finishing the top 3% and spend your budget properly. You just have to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch your winnings roll in. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still win if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks isn't perfect. They've still got the Caleb Williams September freebie going. Last chance to get in on that one. He just needs a half passing yard. I'm also taking for Thursday Night Football, Devin Singletary more than against the Cowboys because they can't stop the run. CeeDee Lamb was pouting on the sidelines. They'll probably get him more involved in Week 4. He also has a pretty good track record against the Giants. I'll take the more than on his receiving yards. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. The Rams at number 20. Hey, that was a strong performance. They gutted out a win that they probably weren't the better team in. Niners had like 130 more yards of offense. That's massive. It's like 2 drives. They still could not get out. They still could not get the W there. So hats off to the Rams. Strong quality win there to keep their kind of season alive. I still like a lot of what I'm seeing from Arizona, but you lose to the Lions, you're going to drop a few spots there. And how about one of the biggest risers this week? Up about 10 spots. The Commanders at 2-1. Again, maybe the Giants and Bengals aren't the best teams, but they're winning games. Jaden Daniels looked electric on Monday Night Football. It wasn't all easy stuff like that. That game-winning throw was unbelievably good. That was a dime. He was, I think, winning in spite of Cliff Kingsbury, who couldn't get the play calls in on time. That 4th down play, he was not yelling, let's go, as in, let's go for it. It was, let's go, get the play in, Cliff, which has kind of been a Cliff Kingsbury issue in the past there. Very impressed by Daniels. The defense is still pretty shaky, but I think it's early. Put that caveat on there. Seems like the Commanders have one. The Falcons at number 17, a tough loss against the Chiefs. They actually went up a little bit, which I think is indicative of people around them falling. And also, you barely lose against the Chiefs. You probably feel, moral victory coming out of that one. Dallas is down a bunch of spots as well, which how can they not be? The score was not indicative of how ugly that game actually was. The quarterback has not been perfect. The receiving game has not been perfect. The head coach has not been perfect. It all is kind of a moot point when you can't stop the run like that. You're not going to win football games, period, allowing 270 yards on the ground in like 3 quarters. It's not feasible. I would be a little surprised if they fired Mike McCarthy midseason, given the way that Jerry Jones does business. But if it was against the Giants on Thursday night, boy, it's going to be loud. So who is the first NFL head coach fired this year? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Number 15, the Baltimore Ravens. You got to put them ahead of Dallas, right? They kind of flipped some spots here. They continue to have issues closing out games. That is a real concern. But they kind of kept their season alive with that win over the Dallas Cowboys. Again, really hard to come back from an 0-3 start. The Chargers at number 14. They slide down a couple of spots after a loss against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll keep our eyes on Herbert, who just is clearly a bit banged up right now. At least Quentin Johnson looks like a real NFL player. Good for him. The Packers at 13. They keep winning games without Jordan Love. That's a really big deal. Hats off to Matt LaFleur. The job he has done with Malik Willis to win games with him at quarterback, who Tennessee didn't want anymore, and then beat Tennessee with him, very impressive. The Jets at 12. They're up a couple spots again. They took care of business against the Patriots. That was a vintage Aaron Rodgers performance. He didn't look the same the first 2 weeks. He looked like his MVP form in week 3. Tampa slides down several spots. That's a bad loss against Denver. Every team's going to have one in almost every case. Like, wow, you really lost that game? That one you lost? Happens. But Tampa had a pretty good showing. Number 10, the Seattle Seahawks. They are 3-0. My futures bet on Seattle to make the playoffs from the beginning of the year that I parlayed with the Chiefs, I feel really good about that one. I like what Seattle's doing on offense. The defense is fun, too. They're getting all kinds of pressures. Mike McDaniel's a really good coach, I think. I think Ryan Grubb's is a fun offensive mind. Geno is doing Geno things. That's a positive thing, too. I like what I've seen from Seattle. The Niners at 9. Look, we're kind of at the point, and I was a bit lower on San Francisco this week. Hey, your injuries might be too much. You've lost a lot of key personnel, and you've been pretty healthy the past couple seasons, and this is one of the ways you end up having potentially, because they can still right the ship, they still have talent, a wasted season when Brock Purdy plays pretty damn well outside of like one play against the Rams, and they still lose that game somehow. Now, if you want power rankings every week here on Chat Sports, then all you have to do is subscribe. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/chatsportstv. The Steelers are once again Steelersing behind a fantastic defense, a quarterback that just won't turn the football over. I like what I've seen from Pittsburgh. A couple interesting tests coming up here for them. They are on the road against Indy, home against the Cowboys, and then on the road against the Ravens. But then they get the Jets and the Giants and the Commanders. Like, unless they lose some games they shouldn't, Pittsburgh can be one of the best teams in football before the schedule gets very challenging down the stretch in the back half of November. But they needed to start hot, and they've done exactly that. The schedule has not been that challenging. I think there are some valid question marks on how good really are the Falcons and Broncos and Chargers. But this is what Pittsburgh does. They win 9 to 10 games every year. The Saints at 7. Yeah, they came down a little bit there. Boy, they really tried to run the football. Hats off to Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Eagles totally took the Saints' game plan out of the picture. The Saints have run the ball over everybody. They've had great advantageous situations, setting up play action. The question was, hey, how are the Saints going to do like a normal drop-back offense? Wasn't nearly as good. Hats off to Philadelphia. They had a great defensive performance. Houston at 5 is, you had to put the team ahead of them, right? We'll get to them in a little bit here. That was just not a great game from the Texans. We'll get to the team that beat them in a minute here. Now, I think from a fraud perspective, you're trying to name a team that most people think are good, but you don't think are very good. So projection frauds, not a team that has been terrible, like the Bengals and the Jags and the Cowboys all fit that mold, but that's probably already established. Who do you think is going to end up being one? Let me know in the comments of today's show. The Vikings at number 4. I love what Kevin O'Connell's doing. And Brian Flores is a wizard on defense, and he just throws stuff at the wall, and it's glorious. Darnold has a few of those plays each game where it's like, my guy, what are you doing? But they've kind of gotten most of those out of him and just ran the offense through Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson. And what happens when Hawkinson gets back? They're pushing for a playoff spot this year. The Lions at number 3, again, didn't have the best week 2 performance. They kind of righted the ship against, I think, a sneaky good Cardinals team. I will say across the board here, by the way, the difference between number 3 and the top 10, a lot of disagreements there on who should be where. There is a pretty clear-cut consensus top 2. It is the Bills at number 2 because they are undefeated. Josh Allen is on his pace for a potential MVP caliber season. And the Chiefs at number 1. They snuck by the Bengals. The Bengals always give them issues. Gutted out a win against the Atlanta Falcons. Relative to expectations, I've been more impressed by the Bills. But until the Chiefs lose the game, as the defending champions, can't put them anywhere else except number 1. So grade our NFL power rankings, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show.